Hey, this is Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Bird, it's the Kirk and Bird Show. And we are going to go over our weekly picks. And we've got a special guest today. We've got Julian Brown of Nova Legends and all those different types of legends. You got soccer, basketball, football, what else?
Legal, business.
Okay, all those legends, right? Good stuff. And we'll let you promote that a little bit more a little later. But and then we also have our regulars. We've got Jason Sterling, who's representing Loudoun County, Northern Virginia, Dinwiddie, and all of everything good about Stonebridge, and as one of the voices of Stonebridge football. And of course, Jay Gholson. This is actually the Jay Gholson weekly pick segment because he is a sponsor of the Player of the Week. But we don't seem to get any of that money. So I don't know if we let him sponsor it. But anyway, he's the voice of Freedom football and basketball. Freedom, the defending Class 6 state champion. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you for having me.
Kurt, why don't you tell people where they can find us? And then let's go ahead on and review the games we have from week 6.
Yep. So just look for us on YouTube, and we'd like for you to hit subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. We put a lot of content out on Twitter. All the other platforms, just type in Kirk and Bird, and make sure that you check out Jay Gholson, ReMax Realtor, award-winning top performer, been in the business for 29 years. We're going to put his phone number across the screen. More importantly, for all you players, Jay is going to announce his Player of the Week later on in this segment. Jay, what number can they reach you at?
703-517-8640.
All right.
24 hours.
Okay.
You'll make a text you night for a
call
night.
You at 3 a.m. You know, I'm thinking about a house. Hey, Julian, why don't you tell folks where they can find all your good stuff?
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel, just Julian Brown, Nova and UVA Legends, and there's various Facebook groups that they're not just mine. They're former athletes from Northern Virginia. We got together and formed these groups during the lockdown, just a way to share old pictures during the time when folks were in front of their computers all day long. So the podcast kind of grew out of that. So it's just not just mine. It's also some of the guys that helped me start it.
All right, good stuff.
I was just watching your new one with Ahmad Hawkins, and I especially like the one you did with Joey Beard. He had some great stories from playing overseas. So all right, real quick, we're going to go over last week's games, and then we'll get into week 7, this week's games, and see how we did. I just want to point out that it looks like overall, our guest picker, Ruben Adams, was 8-2, and Mr. Bird was 7-3, and it looks like Jason, Jay, and myself, Dinwiddie, got us all. So, but going through the individual games, I was able to head out to Madison High School in Vienna. Believe it or not, guys, I've never been there before.
What?
And before I talk about the game, I will say this. That's probably the best environment I've been to in Northern Virginia. It was homecoming. It was packed. There were middle school kids and hanging out, and it was a great environment, a lot of energy, very good environment, one of the best. But getting down to the game, we know both teams well. So Madison and South County, guys, I don't think either of them really got going. It seemed there was, they never got into a groove. There were some big mistakes. There were turnovers. South County muffed a punt, I believe, and there was a hook and ladder. I hadn't seen that in a while. Jordan Dennis, very mobile, nice left-handed quarterback. Like I said, he couldn't really get it going. The thing that stuck out to me also, and I talked to some other people about this, was South County kind of had the guys that fit into the uniforms. They had the Joes. I just think that Madison executed better. The Yates brothers, Cord and Kale quarterback, Cord, he plays slot. He plays a lot of things. They were very good, and Dominic Nicely junior, really, really good player. Madison was just too much, but like I said, it was a game that just really couldn't get a lot of momentum. I would say this, Madison is extremely well coached. Those guys battled through it, and they are on this week's picks for heading to Westfield, and we'll talk about that. The other one was a game that we all picked correctly. And Jay, if you want to chime in, feel free. It was Brentsville 22 over Liberty Bealton, which is out in Fauquier County, and that was 22-11. I hadn't really gotten a report on that one, but we all picked that one correctly. And then Prince William County game, Jay's alma mater, Potomac, defeated Hilton 15-6.
I knew it'd be a close game.
Yeah, we all got that one correct.
Low scoring too. I think we all sort of said it was going to be a low scoring.
I think my exact prediction was 14-6.
Yep.
That was very close. Yeah.
Yep. Very close. And then, oh man, Kings Fork at Indian River, double overtime. 2 weeks in a row, Kings Fork has won in double overtime. That was a heck of a game down there. And we've also got Indian River this week facing Oscar Smith. All right. And one that we all picked incorrectly was Thomas Dale over Dinwiddie. This one is interesting in the fact that Dinwiddie is in Class 4, and they are in a region with King George and Varina. We are picking a Varina game this week. So they took a loss. And then Thomas Dale, we talked about the fact, Jason, that they lost their quarterback who's going to UVA, all-purpose athlete, and they pulled that one out. So that was a somewhat of an upset and affects Class 6 and Class 4. The next game we all got right, and that was Mountain View River Bend. Mountain View 27, River Bend 21.
I was off by 1 point again. I was 28-21.
You were 28-21. Everybody was pretty much kind of in the neighborhood on picks for that one. And we're going to have the Mountain View Colonial Forge game. So Mountain View Colonial Forge, you want to watch this episode. Another good game, guys, was Kettle Run and Millbrook. Two teams you head out west. Kettle Run, being almost in Prince William and Fauquier, went to Millbrook and pulled that one out 28-24. Kettle Run is definitely they moved down to 3, and Phoebus is gone for 3. So that's key. Our buddy Reuben Davis picked Millbrook. All right. And then Loudoun County game. Jason was at the game. Loudoun County 17, Riverside 10. I think Jason, you were at that game. Rusty picked Riverside 28-7. And all of us had it relatively close. I saw the county coaches this weekend and talked to them. So we've also got Riverside on this week at Briarwoods. And then the big game down in Hampton Roads was Phoebus Hampton.
Woo.
And that one was 28-6.
Told you, that Hampton team. Okay, so there's 2 things on that.
They always play
Hampton is getting better, but Phoebus is not the same offensive powerhouse they've had. They've got the great D, but they're not as strong offensively.
Yep.
And that kind of stuck out to me because we thought, if some people are saying this and that, well, I think you even said it. Phoebus was going to use this as a chance to blow them out to show that last year was an anomaly. Not true.
Yep. Rusty, I made some phone calls. I talked to some people, and that's exactly right. That offense is sputtering a little bit. So the defense is great. Really, really good defense. And I think that the challenge that Phoebus has is with a new quarterback and a new tailback, is to get that offense clicking. And then I know Hampton did some stunning. They had one long completion for 52 yards. Things went as planned. I don't think Phoebus played great. The Phoebus Wart game is going to be a big one. And I would say this, Phoebus is not going to just walk all over everybody when you're talking about that state championship. Whoever comes out of that region with Dinwiddie, King George, and Verina. And we're going to be talking about that throughout the year. We're going to talk about it tonight. They are going to be a tough opponent. So, but Phoebus takes care of business, and we'll also be highlighting the Phoebus Bethel matchup, which was will be rescheduled. Rusty, they moved that from November, I think, back in October. I don't have the exact date, but we'll be covering that. And then lastly, private school. We've got Benedictine St. Christopher's. Benedictine prevailed 35. I've got 5 and 35-5, and we all picked that one relatively accurately. So that wraps up last week's games. Rusty, you got anything before we go into this week's games?
No, it's just the fact that I'm still always having the worst record at the end of each week.
Yeah.
How are the guest pickers coming on and doing better than me? I don't get it.
Emotion.
Yes, I pick, but no, look, so I usually will pick with my heart, but then I try to do my reverse thingy and it didn't work. Like I tried to do the reverse thingy with Thomas Dale and it didn't work. But I picked South County and it didn't work that way. So I don't know. I got to stop picking. I'm going to just straight go with my heart, period.
No frat brothers.
Yeah, well,
Warwick, my frat brother's the head coach there, and I know a few people on that coaching staff, so I don't care. I'm going to pick Warwick to beat Phoebus.
All right, so this week's games, we've got some good matchups.
Good matchups.
Starting out, 2 programs very well known to this panel is Patriot at undefeated Gainesville. Rusty, you've called a Gainesville game, and then Jay, you've had multiple players of the week from Gainesville. So Patriot at Gainesville, Rusty, since you've seen them, give us a take on what you think about that Patriot at Gainesville matchup.
Well, I'll tell you, man, Gainesville just took that next step, man. And, we kind of thought, okay, they had the potential to be the next Patriot and kind of like Battlefield, but I didn't think it would be in year 2 of varsity football. And let me say this, they're 5-0, but Colvin Smith goes out and they're still rolling. I just think that this team, Gainesville, has really figured some things out. And they're not scared of anybody. They're not scared of anybody. Like they've got players, they've got great coaching, and they can play with anybody. But I think it'll be a really entertaining game. And for those that cannot make it out to a game, or if you're at a game, why don't you pull up Prince William County Sports and Entertainment and watch the game? They're going to be broadcasting not just the audio, but also the video for this week's game. And you might hear a certain somebody giving the color analyst.
All right, let me say this. Gainesville is undefeated. That's true. But they didn't play anybody with a winning record this year. Patriot lost to Westfield and Colonial Forge.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
Yeah. And like I said, I like the quarterback at Patriot, Tyler Knudsen. Receiver, I forgot his name. He went to Freedom his first year. But yeah, basically they have the next man mentality. If someone gets hurt, someone comes in and keep up the pace. Yeah. And in case of big brother versus little brother, so I'm going with Patriot. I'm gonna say Patriot 23, Gainesville 6.
Okay.
Jason.
So, Jay, I hear you on the 2 losses that Patriot has, but their 3 wins are Freedom out of South Riding, Unity Reed, and Osborne Park.
Woo!
I'll counter your argument and tell you that their 3 wins are not as impressive as their 2 losses, which were two good teams. So I struggled with this game. I struggled with it. That 3-2 record, I just think those 3 teams that they played, Gainesville's 5-0, coming into a game like this, and Rusty, just to hit on what you said, how impressive is it for a program in their second year to be undefeated at this point, 5-0? I think, guys, when we all grew up with football, it took 5, 10, 15 years for a program to get off the ground. You've got programs that are doing this now in 2 to 3 years. where they're playoff contending types of teams. So
Yeah,
that's impressive to see.
And let me just say this. I want to just to add on to that, Jason. I think that has a lot to do with getting a coach that knows what they're doing, knows the area, and builds an excellent coaching staff. I know a number of those coaches on that Gainesville staff, and I'm sorry, I did Craig Smoot a lot, but like they have a strong coaching staff. And I'll give you an example of somebody that hasn't been able to do it. Colgan. Not picking on my boys, but that school has been open now. This is the 8th year, and they still are trying to figure some things out. It's not a new school anymore.
Yeah, one more thing.
Daniel Group he's known for building programs up, taking them either, as startups or just programs that have sort of hit rock bottom and building them back up. I think he's got these guys leaning toward the playoffs. I'm actually going to take Gainesville on this one, guys. I've got them winning this one 35-21 over Patriot.
Okay.
I was going to add one thing, though. But, schools going to playoffs after they open up. Battlefield did it, Potomac did it, and Hilton did it. When the playoffs within 3 years of opening.
Stonebridge did it, I think, first or second year, Jason.
Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, they're good. It can be done.
But I bet if you go back and look at who were their first year coaches, there is a theme of having very experienced coaches open those schools.
Julian Brown, Nova Legends podcast.
Yeah. Well, look, I would say that it is hard to win early in a program's life cycle. I know Riverside here has struggled, but in the case of Gainesville, it's even harder because you have two great programs on your border when you got Patriot and Battlefield on your border. So parents can choose to move, a mile or two one way. That could be very tough on a program. I did interview Coach Sherman last night, basketball coach. He did remark that they had some injury problems at Patriot. I don't know the extent of that, but the fact that he said that, I know he wasn't making that up. So Gainesville's the home team. So I'm gonna go with Jason on this one, and I think was it Kirk also? I'm gonna go Gainesville, and I'm gonna go low scoring. I'm gonna go 21-17.
All right, I'll close it out.
Can I just add another point to add on to what Julian's saying? So unfortunately, the opening of a Gainesville high school and Patriot and Battlefield has really hurt Unity Reed. I mean, Unity Reed had so much talent over the last 15 to 20 years. Look at all the guys they've put at Virginia Tech. We got a kid at Ohio State right now, but a lot of their talent, and I'll tell you another program that's really hurt. Manassas Park, opening of a Patriot or in the opening of Gainesville has really hurt. I think all OP Osborne and Unity Reed.
I think whenever you open up new schools, like in Fairfax County, it just for football, it sucked the life out of the schools in the eastern part of the county, Mount Vernon, West Potomac. Those even Alexandria City, really, they've struggled since the development in the western part of Fairfax is happening. I think Hayfield's had some success because there's development in Kingstown, but I think it always happens to the parts of the county that are older. They tend to suffer in football. So
yeah, it's a splitting of the talent. I'll take Patriot 37, Gainesville 16. Coach Bruton has done an unbelievable job. I believe he knows about our show. We want to have him on. We've had Coach Finnerty on. I think it's an opportunity for Patriot to make a statement about how good they are. So we're going to follow up with another Prince William County game. Freedom. I think Freedom's been on every episode. They are at Colgan. Jay, you're going to give us an overview of the Voice of Freedom. But guys, this is was it 118-0 last year? And that's why.
No, it was
112.
112.
Yeah,
16.
About that.
Yeah, 112-16. Yeah.
So Jay, tell us about this matchup.
Well, I'll take back what you just said. Last year's game at halftime, it was 91-0.
Woo!
At halftime. Now the key is for Colgan, there's going to be the mindset. Do you come out of the stadium scared or laid on the line? And this Colgan team to me is better than last year. Well, more athletes than last year.
I agree.
But Freedom, I saw them play against Forest Park last Friday. They will not take their foot off the pedal. It was 64-6. They're still throwing the ball in the end zone. So they're not going to quit. Freedom is not going to kneel down or run the clock out. I hate to say it. It's not Colgan too. Colgan's going to have a big crowd on both sides. So I'm going to say Freedom 81.
Woo.
Colgan 14. Running clock by the third quarter.
All right. Julian. It's not
Well,
a tough.
this is the game that got me in trouble with Coach Overton in my big mouth last year when they put triple digits on Colgan. So Freedom has not been putting up the scores they did last year, but I now they're getting ready to get into the heart of their district, and I think here's where they really lay over the competition. So it'll be interesting to see if the scores are as big as they were last year. My guess is it's going to be hard to top that. It'd be interesting if we had a point spread on this game, and if we take how we do with that. But
that's what I did with Coach Overton. I said last year, I said you won't. Before the game, I said you won't beat them. I didn't say they wouldn't lose. I said you won't beat them by more than 20.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go. I'm going to go 63-7.
All right. And by the way, Julian's going to the Riverside JV game tonight, so we got to step it up so he can get out of here. Jason, tough pick here, right?
Yeah, no, probably not a tough pick. Julian, you're not alone. This game got national headlines, guys. There were people all over the country that I think wrote about this. Anytime you drop top 100 points, it sort of picks up the news cycle pretty quickly. I think all the phones around the various schools that Friday night were buzzing. Different opinions on, whether it should have been 112 or, what have you. It is what it is. But I will tell you this about Colgan. They've got 2 wins already this year. Now, granted, it's Osborne and Osborne Park, but they're 2-3. So let's give them some credit there. And the 16 points they scored last year against Freedom were the 4th most that anybody scored last year against Freedom. So we'll give them some credit there. I'm with you, Julian. I don't think this game goes crazy. I think there's a little, just a little bit of a hangover from a conversation standpoint. I've got a very similar score. I'm going Freedom 60, Colgan 6 in this one. So,
all right, Rusty Bird.
Yeah. So last year there was the 100-point game, but the year before that, Freedom beat Colgan 84-20. So a 60-point margin. I think the year before that, I don't know if they played during the COVID year or not. I think, but the year before that, I think they beat them by 50. I agree. I think that Colgan has a few more athletes, especially some of the younger ones coming into the program. But I think that's a mental hurdle that's going to have to, a lot of the returning athletes are going to have to still try to get over. And maybe some of the newer ones won't have that same, won't feel the same way. But, when I look at Colgan, I think it won't be, they won't put up 100 if Colgan, Freedom won't put up 100 on them. But I still see this game being Freedom winning by at least 65 points. At least 6. I don't know what the score will be. Let me just say then it'll be 10-75.
I can see that.
All right.
Yeah. And one last thing though I'd say about it is that it will show a lot about how Colgan's coaching staff, if they are the ones that can adapt and make the change, because the kids are just going to follow and do what the coaches kind of direct and say. And I think last year, I'm not making excuses, but I think those players could have been helped out a whole lot if a different strategy was taken in terms of running the ball, doing some things that could have minimized the amount of opportunities. Because I think even Coach Overton noted that they only had like 120 some yards of offense. It was a lot of special teams and defense, returns and yeah. So those if Colgan can cut down on the mistakes and play intelligent football, they can keep it to under 50.
All right. I'll wrap it up. 56-7, Freedom. You got to think about this facing Freedom. You've got 3 receivers. EJ Reed's going to Wake Forest. Cam Courtney is going to Indiana. And Juju Preston has Colorado and many other offers. Jeffrey Overton is a junior. He's got a lot of offers. And Tristan Evans, maybe their most valuable player. And I'm leaving out a bunch of players. So that's a big task. I like Freedom winning that one. So we'll move on to the
I do want to say one other thing is, Jason, is that at this point last year, Colgan was in the same place. They were 2-3 with victories over Osborne and Osborne Park.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I mean, they haven't looked as bad as some of the other games, but yes, there's the same point. Let's see how they respond.
All right, so the next game is a very good matchup down in Richmond. Speaking of Freedom, Varina took Freedom to the wire, is going to Glen Allen, and Glen Allen's a very good team. Jason, give us a preview of that one, please.
In the last year and a half, that's probably the tightest anybody's played Freedom, is the game that Varina put up against them. DeMatha was, sort of there, and but that's sitting at 3-1. They took Freedom down to the wire in that game. They really had a strong comeback in the second half of that one. Their defense is a swarming defense at Varina. They remind me, Kirk, a lot of Phoebus. They attack the ball, 11 hats on the ball, so it's good to see from that standpoint. I still think they're working out some things offensively. But Glen Allen, on the other hand, guys, listen to this. They're out of the Colonial District. They moved up to Class 6. They returned, and I kid you not, this is true, they returned 1 starter from last year's team.
Yeah, they only have like 3 seniors, I believe, on the whole team.
That's correct. 1 starter.
Wow.
They sit at 4-1, and I think if they were down in Class 5, they'd be favored maybe to come out of Region C. They're really good. Their strength is their defensive unit as well. I think that'll help them keep this game close, but I do think Varina is the better team. I've got Varina here beating Glen Allen 27-13.
Let me add this: the Freedom Varina game. Now, Freedom was up that game 21-0. So it wasn't really a close game until the end, where penalties and whatever. So saying that, this guy, I'm picking Varina over Glen Allen. I'm gonna say Varina, 16, Glen Allen 9.
Okay. All right, Julian.
Jason brings up a lot of good points about this game. I don't know the teams, but I do know Varina's winning culture in basketball and football. I believe a lot of these kids play both. It sounds like Glen Allen is pretty young. I would think that Varina would be a tough team to beat. After they've got to be confident playing Freedom tough, even though as Jay said, they were down big, but you count both halves, so they're able to get back into the game. They didn't get intimidated. So I'm gonna also go with Varina. I'm gonna probably go. Richmond scores are funny. When I went through this today getting ready, all the scores are all blowouts. So it's hard. A team will be 4-1 and their only loss will be 49-7. So it was really hard for me to get maybe when I'm a reason to it. But I'm gonna say close game. I'm gonna say 21-13.
Right. Rusty Bird.
Yeah, they're primed to do well. Continue to do well in the playoffs this year. It was just 2 years ago that we were calling them one of the best teams in the entire state. So I think, and Glen Allen is having a good season, but I would pick Varina to win this one 35-17.
All right, I'll finish up. I'll say that Glen Allen's coming off of a big win over Douglas Freeman. Coach Perry Jones does have a very young team. He's got a defensive end, tight end, 6'4" kid. Gavin Widener just got a Navy offer. And then Matt McElwain, his brother Sean McElwain is at William & Mary. He's also a very good player. If you look at the way these teams have played and their records, this is probably could very well be a defensive battle in a low-scoring game. Varina's defense, I think, is just too much. They're very stout. And then they're 6-0 all time against Glen Allen. That could be a factor, but I definitely like Varina to come out of this one. And I'm going to pick a relatively low scoring game. I like Varina 17, Glen Allen 14. So the The next game, 757 game, Indian River at Oscar Smith. Two very old programs down there. And like we said when we were going over last week's games, Indian River is coming off of a double overtime loss to Kings Fort. And then Oscar Smith is finding their way. Oscar Smith definitely has athletes, guys. They always have athletes. And settling on their quarterback, the freshman Lonnie Andrews, I think is a big deal. But this matchup is a good one down the 757. This game is at Oscar Smith, and it's just going to be a matter of Indian River is coming off that double overtime to Kings Fork. I think that's going to be a big factor. Indian River is really going to want this game. Oscar Smith has great athletes. I'm going to take Indian River upsetting, or not an upset, but at beating Oscar Smith at the Tiger Den. I like it 31-21. Based on what I've heard about the teams. I think, and I would say this, I talked to Matt Hatfield this afternoon. Look out for Oscar Smith coming into the playoffs at 7-3 or 6-4, by the way, guys. They're gonna be tough they're gonna be tough to deal with. Oscar Smith's gonna be a tough team, but I do like Indian River to win this one. Yeah, Jay, I do. So with the records there. So Julian.
Well, it seems like, and without knowing the teams very well or at all, Oscar Smith has not seemed to be the same team ever since the Phoebus game last year. They had an aura about them, Oscar Smith, and then they lost to that Phoebus game, and then the results weren't the same afterwards. They still haven't seemed to have the aura about them. I know this is an old school matchup, which is exciting. Indian River seems to have the momentum going. So going along with that theme, I'm going to pick Indian River. I'm not sure if it's an upset. But I'm going to go low scoring. I'm going to go 20-14.
All right, Jason Sterling.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Julian. I think you're spot on that the Oscar Smith up until that Phoebus game was a different team, and they just haven't been able to quite get things going here. They're coming off a bye week. I do think, Kirk, I agree with you. I think they'll find their rhythm at some point. I think there's a path to the basket for Oscar Smith to make a playoff run. Are they championship worthy? I'm not seeing that right now, but I think they've got a shot, and they'll get better as the season progresses. Indian River's 2 losses, Verina and Kings Fort. So those 2 blemishes, not bad blemishes, guys. I mean, a loss is a loss, but you're talking about they lost to two of the better teams out there. I like Indian River in this one. I've got the exact same score. I think, Julian, you had 20-14. I've got Indian River also 20-14 in beating Oscar Smith.
You double your money, guys. You gotta double down on that now, guys.
That's right. We'll be way off.
Julian's been copying off your paper, Jason.
Exactly.
I know.
Kirk shared it with me.
I heard that about him.
Right.
You are a popular guy at Oscar Smith. Everybody knows you, Jay. Tell us, Jay.
I'm going to say this. A freshman quarterback will cost you 3 games a year. But this game, not the case. Oscar Smith will not lose at home to Indian River. I'm going to say Oscar Smith wins this game 23-14.
All right. Rusty?
All right, well, I'm going to go old school and say, look, these are 2 teams from Chesapeake. And when this rivalry happens, you can just throw the records out the window. It doesn't matter. This is 2 Chesapeake classic teams. Doesn't matter who's home. Doesn't matter who's away. They hate each other, and they're going to battle to the end. That being said, I think Oscar Smith will get the win. 30. They're at home, but I think Oscar Smith just gets the win 30-21. I think their quarterback situation is starting to work itself out. And they'll be a team that, we heard all this, Smith set and all that mess when they went on the road for those 2 state championships. It's died down, like you said, since Phoebus. But with this young quarterback they've got, they're going to be, in 2 years, we're going to have to hear all that mess again. So I think they're just laying back, But I think that Oscar Smith team is going to be something to really reckon with down the line. But this year, they may win the first round or 2, but once they go beyond, they're not going to be able to handle the 804 teams. Whoever comes out of there, whether it's Manchester, Thomasdale, or Highland Springs, that'll be too much. But I like them for this game.
All right. Okay. If I did, I don't think I named the score. I like Indian River 31, Oscar Smith 21. And moving on, Julian, you just moved out here to Loudoun County from Arlington, where you were close to Yorktown High School. I know, and you know a little bit about this matchup coming up. Yorktown has only lost to Washington Liberty. That was a little bit of an upset, and they are at McLean. We have not said McLean once this year, and they are undefeated. So Yorktown is going to McLean. Julian, give us a preview of that one.
Well, I don't think McLean has played the toughest schedule around, but they're undefeated. Got to give them credit. They have tremendous crowd support at McLean. Great stadium. It's got kind of a mini Madison. It's an awesome place to watch a football game. These schools are a mile apart, a mile and a half apart. It's a huge rivalry. I don't think they hate each other, but a lot of schools do hate McLean for some reason. But it's going to be a close game. Yorktown has Coach Hansen. They're gonna stay with the basics. I'm gonna have to go with Yorktown, my peoples. So I'm gonna go. How about 17-14 Yorktown?
All right, Jason.
Highlanders of McLean with a 5-0 record. How about that? That's pretty good. Yeah, we don't think of McLean as a football power in Fairfax there, but they've got some good athletes. Junior quarterback Ethan Ball, running back Kalen Ferris. They've got some players. They've got some athletes on that team. They're sort of hidden in the weeds a little bit, I think, with all the really good teams that are in that Fairfax, Arlington area. So there's some excitement building around McLean and head coach Joe Cockerham. Yorktown rebounded last week with the win over Centerville, which was good to see. I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite in this game. I've got a close one. I give the slight edge to Yorktown. Let me take them in this one, 21-20 over McLean.
Right. Jay Gholson, you need to sell some houses in these two areas.
McLean played Hampton in the state semifinals, and that was a close game.
Mm-hmm.
So McLean, don't rule them out. I know that's the $5 million homes and this and that, senators' kids and blah, but these kids can play. So I'm gonna pick McLean in this one. It's gonna be a low scoring, good defense. I'm gonna say 14-6 McLean.
Okay. I want to see you planting some for sale signs down there, Jay, and McLean.
14-6.
All right, Rusty Bird.
Okay, McLean gets a lot of notoriety because of some of the $5 million homes, but Yorktown has the $4.9 million homes. Okay, like they are straight ballers out there. All right, like Yorktown, Arlington, they're kind of rolling in it too. All right, but Yorktown to me, low key, man, has had a really strong program over the years. I think we don't give some of the Arlington schools enough credit, but I think some of that has to do with what Julian talked about earlier. They're just older schools. There's not a base of building a lot of new properties in Arlington County, so you don't get and then they've rebuilt all the schools. But I mean, in terms of building a new school and having a larger population, it makes people say, let's go move here. But I think Yorktown has really been a really solid program over the last couple of years. So McLean's a new kid on the block in terms of the last couple of years, especially the last 5 or 6 years. They were not doing well a few years ago. So I think Yorktown, it'll be a close game, but I think Yorktown will win 21-17.
Okay. I'll close it out. Yorktown and their tradition is going to prevail. I like Yorktown 21-10. Another thing that comes into play here is that both of these high schools are in areas where many kids go to private school. So I believe Kevin Hogan, who played for Gonzaga and Stanford, would have been a Langley or McLean guy. And then Yorktown being close to the city. Also, you get a lot of options. I mean, I've heard of kids going to Gonzaga from, down in Prince William County. So that's one of the things. But I like Yorktown and the program they have in place, 21-10. A great matchup down in Stafford.
Hey guys, I got to go, but I appreciate your having me, including me.
Julian.
Kirk and Bird, you guys are doing a great job covering high school. Jay, your Facebook group is a lot of fun, and you're doing a great job building that. And Jason, man, you're awesome. You really know your stuff. I mean, your tribute to this high school, man. I think people are getting a lot of good information from you. I just hope you can continue to do this for us.
Thank you, Julian.
Thanks, Julian.
Take care, guys.
All right, thank you.
All righty.
All right, Jay, tell us about Mountain View at Colonial Forge.
Mountain View, Colonial Forge, both are undefeated. Mountain View got punched in the mouth against Riverbend, and that was a close game. Colonial Forge, I saw him play against Patriot. It was a close game. They didn't dominate against Patriot. Now, these teams are undefeated, like I said earlier. In Region 6B, you have Freedom, Battlefield, Gainesville, Mountain View, and Colonial Forge are undefeated. So that's 5 teams right now for 8 seeds.
Yeah.
It's important. So I'm going to go with my old coach, Bill Brown. Not sound like Rusty now. I'm going to go with my old coach, Bill Brown. I'm going to say Colonial Forge 24, Mountain View 12.
All right. Jason?
Words of the great Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Their last 31 games, Mountain View is 27-4, Jay. 27-4 in the last 31 games. 2 losses to Stonebridge, 1 loss to Riverbend, 1 loss to Colonial Forge. Sorrentino's got these guys going in a great direction. He won titles at Culpeper. He won a title at Hilton. And I think he's seeking that one in Mountain View to sort of round out his career here. So I look on the other side of this thing and I see 6-0 Colonial Forge. I'm like, how'd they sneak up on me with a 6-0 record? They are a really good team too. So all kidding aside, Colonial Forge is the real deal. This is a great football game, guys. They've got good wins in there. Colonial Forge, I think they beat Woodbridge. They've beaten Patriot. They've beaten Massaponax. So they've beaten some pretty quality programs. Mountain View is going to be their toughest challenge. Give me the Ohio State commit, Eric Mensa and the Wildcats in Mountain View in a very, very close game. Mountain View 24, Colonial Forge 21.
Oh, woo!
I just know this. If I've got to go, not about who's going to win between Mountain View and Colonial Forge, but who's going to win, Jason or Jay, I'm always going with Jason. So in that case, I'm going to say Mountain View, based on that analysis all on my own. All right. Yeah, I'm going Mountain View for a lot of the very same reasons that Jason talked about. Mountain View 30-21. But let me just say this, you all. With these teams moving, well, Colonial Forge was already Class 6, but this region is, I think, because it has more teams, I think it has 19, has more quality teams. And I think, not saying that Freedom cannot get out of this region, but it could cause Freedom to have 2 tough games as they get out of this region. So whether it's Battlefield Patriot and then the next game is Mountain View or Colonial Forge, like it's not going to be like last year. Let me just put it that way. I'm not saying they will, but these are teams that will be very capable. And I'll tell you what, the top 8 teams that do make the playoffs, they're going to all be quality. In fact, I would say probably 1 team out of the Cardinal District, 3 from the Cedar Run, and then the rest will be filled in with, Stafford, 5-4-0 teams.
Yeah, one thing though, about the Region 6B, you could go maybe 5-5 and stay home.
Yeah.
6-4 and stay home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Up it is. Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because there's some other regions where I was talking to Jeremiah and Coach Ridenball about this on Friday. There's some other regions where almost everybody in the region makes the playoffs. So I like Mountain View over Colonial Forge, 34-24. And then next game, Madison or Westfield. We have not talked about Westfield much. Great program. So Madison's going over to Westfield, and Jason, give me your thoughts on that. I've seen Madison play. You've seen Madison play, and I know that we know a lot about Westfield. What's your take, Jason?
Well, we'd have 2 undefeated teams except for Westfield's loss to Lake Braddock, and that was only about 2 points. And Lake Braddock's a good football team too. So, I think Madison survived that game against South County, and what did they? They turn around a week later, and the prize they get is Westfield. We were talking about it on one of the earlier episodes, guys. This lineup in Fairfax County, it's week to week, just top to bottom, a great game. I mean, you really don't have any weeks you can look at taking off if you're Westfield or Madison or South County. I think this game sort of sets one of these teams up for the number 1 seed in Region D. Maybe South Lakes is a spoiler in there. We haven't talked about them a lot. We'll see what they do, but this is a big game. This is a really big game. Westfield's returning to form. I think these 2 teams will trade blows for most of this game. I've got Madison just because they tend to find a way to win these close games. We've seen it here now for the last couple of years. So I've got Madison eking this one out in the end by the score of 22-20.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Jay Gholson.
Madison now, to me, is the Westfield 8-9 years ago. And I just don't see Madison losing at all until they play Freedom in the state championship. So I'm going to say Madison, I'm going to say 24-20 over Westfield. A great coaching matchup between Simmons and Counts, but I got Madison.
All right. Rusty Bird.
So we always do this when a team gets a loss. It kind of like, but we got to look like it's been pointed out. Look at who their losses are to. We know Lake Braddock is good. I think that Madison has had clearly 2 very close games. It was tied in the 4th quarter against South County, and then they had to have the comeback win at the very end against Stonebridge. At some point, Madison's luck could run out, and I think this is the week. Look, that Concord district is tough. I mean, you've got some really, really tough teams, and so don't be surprised if Madison gets a loss here or there. They still have some tough games to go, and Madison is not guaranteed to come out this year. They're very, very good, but with South County, Westfield, Fairfax, you never know when you get to the playoffs. Centerville. So some of these South Lakes, some of these teams, we can't, they have a loss or 2, but sometimes that helps build a little character. I like Westfield to win this one, and I think they'll win by a score of 33-28.
All right. Westfield 33-28. All right. I'm going to take Madison 26, Westfield 13. Say this about Madison. They don't look the part. South County just had good looking players, and but they've got football players at Madison, and Cord and Cale Yates played like 5'10 guys, but just classic football players. I ran into Luke Jarvis, number 10 linebacker. He's a really good looking player, and talked to him and his dad. So I think Madison, the fact that they beat Lake Braddock, I like them over Westfield, and they're going to be a tough out, headed to that state final. Don't look too far ahead, but that would be a nice one to see. So the next game, oh my goodness, Stonebridge. They've been missing in action because they've had one of the toughest schedules I've ever seen, but they're going to host Potomac Falls. It's a home game, and they're coming off a week of rest. Jason, we know the Stonebridge Bulldogs well. Tell us about what's coming up.
Yeah, Stonebridge is back in action. They had a bye week this past week, and I think if I had told you at this point in the season Potomac Falls would have 3 more wins than Stonebridge, we'd probably all look at each other thinking, what's going on with that? That can't be accurate, but that's where we are right now. But look, that Stonebridge schedule, you can compare it to, Maury's schedule or Freedom schedule, Dinwiddie schedule. There's been some, it's been some great schedules out there early. I mean, some of these Virginia teams have really stretched their ability to go out and put some real tough teams on the schedule. Stonebridge is no exception, and it may be the hardest. I mean, that loss a couple of weeks ago to Our Lady of Good Counsel. I was at that game up in Maryland, and Kirk, I think I texted you the number of 3-star and 4-star guys that were on that field for Our Lady of Good Counsel. They are currently ranked number 35 in the nation. In max prep, so they are solid. It's probably, I'm not sure there's a team in the state right now that would beat Our Lady of Good Counsel, but Stonebridge should get back to their winning ways here. The key for them is going to be their health. They had some injuries here early in the season. They picked up a couple more. Miles Turpin, I think I told you, hurt his knee. I don't know his status for Friday yet. I haven't heard. Hopefully he'll be back. I don't think it's a season-ending thing, so if they can get him back maybe Friday, maybe in a couple weeks, it'll certainly help that offense out. I think Stonebridge gets right here. I think they go back to their winning ways. Unfortunately, I think Pot Falls is going to be the victim here to a pretty upset, angry, and mad Stonebridge team who really wants to prove a point. I've got them winning this game 48-7.
All right. Jay Gholson.
I agree with Jason. Stonebridge, had a tough schedule. Now they're playing Pot Falls. It's going to be a blowout. I'm going to say Stonebridge 56. Potomac Falls 0.
All right. Rusty.
Yeah. So I again, like what everyone else has said, Stonebridge is they're 0-4, but what can be a little it can be very deceiving because they lost to James Madison at the end of the game. They got blown out by two of the top teams in the country in Martinsburg and Good Counsel. But the way I look at the Good Counsel game is they played Quince Orchard at Quince Orchard and had a very good chance to win that game, and really could have won that game. Okay, and then they had to come right back and go to Maryland. They protested, didn't want to play the game, without Jeter. But so I just think they were probably the kids were overwhelmed. I'm not saying Good Counsel's not a good team, but you got to imagine like they were they're just at that point like, and Good Counsel might have beaten them anyway, but they've had a rough season. Again, I think they're going to definitely bounce back against Potomac Falls. I think this is what it counts. These are district games, and but I see Stonebridge winning 42-14.
Yep. Seems to be a consensus here. I think Stonebridge will get better. I like it 49-0. Stonebridge is going to be a team that is most likely going to have to go on the road in the playoffs. And, we had Coach Thompson on back in the preseason, and this guy that's had some unbelievable teams. It's episode 173. He made a comment that this team has a chance to be special, especially offensively. And I don't think they've gotten into that groove yet. If you look at, they've got guys that can stretch the field. G. Coulter. They've got help me out with the kid from Christ the King, Jason
Gladding.
Yeah, Naeem Gladding, and then Jordan Kaiser, and then Brandon Pena rolling out. So they've got some options. I think they're going to get well fast. I see Patrick Henry being a challenge to them, and them, likely going down to UVA and facing Morning, and never count out Coach Thompson. Never count him out. Yeah. When he thinks there's a special team, this is a guy that started coaching, over 40 years ago, and he's got some experience underneath his belt. So I'll be happy to see Stonebridge, get things right again and get Miles Turpin. He's, in my opinion, Miles Turpin is the best player in Loudoun County right now. And Wake Forest is getting a good one, and he's going to touch the ball a lot more on offense come later on in the season. And that bus ride down to Roanoke, Jay, we'll see how that goes.
Look, guys, we said it before the season. We looked at the schedule. We talked to Coach Thompson. We knew it would be tough. Like, what did we expect? I mean, we all saw how tough it was. I think Coach Thompson's a great coach. He'll know how to rebound and teach and grow. None of those games are going to impact their ability to win their district, have a few home games. And I think this gives Mickey a whole new way of coaching and motivating. And we're the underdogs and nobody believes in us, and they can go all the way to UVA, like you said, Kirk, and maybe even beat Maury.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. Just to put a little color around that, this will show, I think, how good of a coach Mickey Thompson is, keeping this team together, right? Because teams can splinter, especially teams with good tradition that start 0-4. You got the parents that are, sitting there screaming in the stands. You've got, you just got a lot of things going on, and it's tough. But I think he will glue this team back together. He'll pick them up piece by piece. They get into sort of a softer schedule now. They'll climb into the playoffs. They will have to go on the road some, right? But look, if anybody, this is one of the most tested playoff teams out there. They just go deep every year. So he knows how to coach. He'll get them there, and it'll be a good end of the season for them. Question is, can they get healthy enough, and overcome some of the early struggles that they've had to take out some of those teams, maybe in the regional final or state semi, to get a chance to face a team like Maury. I think they can. I think it starts Friday, and we'll see.
Yeah, if that big offensive line starts gelling and cuts down on mistakes, Stonebridge.
Let me tell you how it's easy to gel. Play regular teams. It will be very easy for them to gel. There's nobody going to have the talent like they've been. So look, this is going to happen. The opposing coaches are going to look at the film and they're going to break it down, especially all the losses, and say, "Oh, that's all we got to do." No, it's the talent that Good Counsel and all those other programs have is what make the difference. I think they do well, and not until they get to the state finals would they find anybody that can match what they've been through.
All right. So we're gonna close out with a big game. Rusty, I put this one on because it's the peninsula. Williamsburg, part of the peninsula. Lafayette at War Hill. War Hill is a newer school for us older guys. It wasn't there. Lafayette is a classic school with Mel Gray, Lawrence Taylor, Ron Springs, and many more. They have War Hill has never beaten Lafayette. So they've got a great team this year. This is going to be a big matchup. I was talking to Matt Hatfield about this, and this one could go either way. I think that War Hill absolutely has the kids to do this. It's just, can they get over the fact that they've never beaten Lafayette, and it is a home game. I'm going to take War Hill, and we want to encourage everybody down in Williamsburg, please look at us, subscribe, make comments, let us know. We want to talk more about you. But guys, I like War Hill to break this streak, beat Lafayette, and get a big win. I like it 29-17. What do you think, Jason?
Battle of Williamsburg schools here, right? I love that, man. This is like Busch Gardens versus Water Country.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which park do you prefer? A lot of people last year, Kirk, had War Hill eventually overtaken and winning that game against Lafayette for the first win ever against them. It didn't happen. Lafayette was angry that, they had to read about that for 9 games, because I think it was the last game of the regular season, and Lafayette blew them out 49-7 last year. Now, whole different year, 2 brand new teams here. I just can't get over that. I think that sort of stays with them a little bit. I think Lafayette feels and continues to keep that confidence going. These are both good schools, though. War Hill's that newer school, like you said. But I just think Lafayette's going to be too much for these guys. They've got great ball control. They mix the run in the pass very well. I'm going to take the Class 3 Lafayette Rams over the Class 4 War Hill Lions, and a pretty close one, but give them to me 24-17. Lafayette with the winner.
All right. There you go. Streak continues. Jay Gholson, you need to sell some houses in Kings Mill and Forest Colony, man.
I heard. I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with War Hill. I'm going to say 17-10 over Lafayette.
All right.
I think that Lafayette continues to spank their bigger enrollment but little brother, and continues their streak since 2007, and wins 28-21.
All right. So that wraps it up. Just going to say that we are at the time for the ReMax Jay Gholson Player of the Week. Jay, before you announce it, I just want to say that if you want to nominate someone, get a hold of Jay, get a hold of any of us. Just say, hey, look at this person, look at that person. We want you to, have some input on this. And then we also, if you have any real estate needs, okay, make sure you call Jay Gholson. And Jay, go ahead and tell us who your player of the week is. I'm looking forward to this, and make sure you get your phone number out there.
Oh, let me just say this. Why do I have a feeling that the player of the week will be a Freedom Eagle? I don't know. Let's go. Let's see. Go ahead.
I have the co-players of the week, 2 co-players.
Okay.
One of the Patriots, Jackson McCarter, who had 6 touchdowns, set a school record for Patriots. Another one is Freedom's Devin Reeves, who had, listen, Rusty, 17 tackles.
Wow. 1
touchdown. And 5 tackle for losses. I can't overlook that. So
all right. Well, thank you, Jay. I appreciate you sponsoring and getting that player of the week out each week. Anything you want to close with, Jason?
No, district games, guys, right? It's weird not to hear Jay give a distance between 2 schools, because a lot of these schools now we're playing each other that are pretty close. So I miss that, Jay. I think your picks are going to be off this week. I predict you have a bad week as a result, because the long bus rides are no longer in your head, and I think you're going to start coming back to the pack here with your picks a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Kirk.
Great time. My favorite time of the year. Fall's my favorite. Guys, it's getting down. Start getting down to the 50s. You're going to smell fire, the wood burning fire. I love it. The leaves coming down. Football. We got the World Series. The Baltimore Orioles are in the playoffs. Go O's. Everybody before the Nationals. I know Rusty's favorite team is the Baltimore Orioles. I'm excited about them. And we got college football going, and great time of year. Enjoy it.
All right. Well, I'm going to do my best Jason Sterling impression. Hey, guys, it's only 4 games left for most teams. Most teams have played 6 games. We've got to go out and support these young athletes. And the season's just wrapping up. Can you believe we're over halfway for most teams? Go out there, watch these games before it really gets cold, okay, and support these athletes. But I cannot believe we're almost over 60% through this high school football season. Seems like it was just yesterday we were talking about the opening games. So go out, support high school football, and have fun.
Love it, man. That was excellent. Excellent.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you joining us, and I love doing these each week. So for Jay Gholson, Jason Sterling, and my man Kirk Hilliard, this has been the Kirk and Bird Show with our weekly picks. We are out.